as well as online. Today on the program, we are going to spotlight the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries, the largest rescue mission organization of its kind, which was founded more than a century ago. For more than a century, the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries has been answering the call to help those who are challenged socioeconomically, homeless veterans, the unemployed, teen moms, and those living in the margins of society, people who, by virtue of unfortunate circumstances, have had their fortunes and their stations in life changed, sometimes through no fault of their own. Helping these individuals get a fresh start in life has been the goal of the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministry. So today on Redline, we're looking at that. We're here on this program. We've been persistent and insistent in raising sometimes the uncomfortable questions affecting this region, and of course the city of Detroit, about what has been done to help those who are cut out of opportunities, individuals who feel marginalized or neglected, people who feel that they have been sentenced to a permanent state of despair, talking about their plight and the need to address the massive economic inequality that we see all around us is important to this program. Former United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan said, and I quote, "Extreme poverty anywhere is a threat to human security everywhere." Aristotle, the philosopher, says poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Mahatma Gandhi, the Indian philosopher, spiritual leader, says poverty is the worst form of violence. Mother Teresa says, when a poor person dies of hunger, it has not happened. It has not happened because God did not take care of him or her. It has happened because neither you nor I wanted to give that person what he or she needs. Former President Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, and I quote, "The test of our progress is not whether we add more to the abundance of those who have much. It is whether we provide enough for those who have too little." Here, this is our former President Franklin Roosevelt. And with that, we will now put the red line lens on the work of the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries. The topic today, the next 50 years, a question of economic opportunity or a question of economic misery. In case you're wondering, the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries stepped up on Monday when we went live with the story of Southwest Detroit resident Antonio Angeles, whose house was burnt earlier this year. The rescue mission is now moving with all deliberate speed to put Mr. Angeles and his family in a new home where they will live at no cost. Joining me now for the conversation, Dr. Chad Alder is the president and CEO of the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries. 313-778-7600. 313-778-7600 is the number to call and chime in this conversation. Dr. Alder, thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me, Bankole. Before I start, let me first say Happy Mother's Day to a lot of women, because today overseas it's Mother's Day all over the world, except for the United States and Canada. It will be in May. Right. But also I want to take this opportunity to also wish you, being the 9th year in a row, a father yourself. So happy birthday to Jelani.
Thank you.
And before I start,
so I want to go to the work of the rescue mission here. Let's talk about that.
Well, Detroit Rescue Mission has been here since 1909, so we are actually in our 110th year providing service into our community, and we're very proud of it. Every day today, DRMM provides services to 2,200 people. We provide about 4,500 meals every single day. We are, according to third-party numbers, there is in Detroit 27 organizations who deals with chronically homeless. DRMM alone helps 52% of all the population, and the other 26 organization is helping the 48%. So that tells you the magnitude of Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries helping within the city of Detroit, and outside the city of Detroit. So we're not limited only to the city of Detroit. We help in Highland Park, we help in different counties, but our focus work has been and will remain in Detroit.
313-778-7600, 313-778-7600. Here's what I want to do. I kind of want to expand this conversation. Jeffrey Sachs is a professor at Columbia University. He has been a voice on this question of global poverty. He was in Detroit last year, I think, spoke at a business or investors conference and talked about poverty. Let's go to listen to Jeffrey Sachs here talking about poverty.
Poverty in Our Generation, Still Time If We Try, by Professor Jeffrey Sachs. Professor Sachs is the Rockefeller Center's Class of 1930 Fellow for this academic year.
It turned out that this is a riverbed in the village, but the river has run dry. And it's run dry partly because of climate change, it seems, because the short rains in Tigray province have become shorter or non-existent over the years, in recent years, seeming to be because of long-term climate change, though, of course, it's only after a much longer statistical record that you say you nailed it. But it seems to be climate change. And population growth at the same time, so more and more water taken out of these smaller and smaller trickle upstream. So that by the time you get to this village, there is no water in the dry season for 8 or 9 months out of the year. And the men were digging a hole in the middle of the riverbed to get to the water, and they had hired a pump out of the incredibly scarce resources, and they were going to pump the fields that day. But basically, this is a drought-prone, famine-prone, impoverished community. And the legs are thin, and everyone's undernourished, and many hunger months a year. And we are working in this community, among many places, to try to end extreme poverty through targeted investments. And I have to tell you, when we drove here the first time, you go to the regional capital, and then you drive on a tarmac for about an hour. And then we turned off the tarmac into the bush and drove for an hour. I didn't know that was still the road, actually, because it didn't seem to be the road, but there was a little bit of road. And then we turned one more time, boom, 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 just rock, not even level, and went for another hour. And my colleague sitting next to me, who's a world-famous soil scientist, was looking out desperate because there was no soil. It was sandy. It was rock. And he was just, you could see the sweat. What are we going to do here? And we had given instructions to all of our colleagues around Africa in finding the Millennium Villages. We want hard places. This is to prove the hard stuff, not the easy stuff near the road. And he looked at me and said, this may be a village too far, one village too far. And yet there's a tremendous amount of progress here. What you're seeing here is changing, actually, through proper landscape management.
We're going to come back. We're trying to get to where we want to get to. Jeffrey Sachs is a professor at Columbia University, speaks a lot about poverty and so forth. But we'll get to that. Again, we're speaking with Dr. Chad Hadley, the CEO of the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries. 50 years, the next 50 years, economic opportunity or economic misery. What I want to delve into, though, is Detroit here, in terms of where the city finds itself in today. We know the numbers are very clear in terms of where the city is, in terms of the socioeconomic strata. We know poverty is not a foreign notion in this city. We know it affects a lot of people in this city. Talk about how the rescue mission, in terms of, it's been around for more than a century. That's a long time. And not many of us will live for that long. Where the rescue mission came from and where it is now.
Well, the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministry started back in February 1909 when it was cold and people needed a place to eat and a place to sleep. And this is how it started. Today, Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries have at least 18 different locations, and we help people from cradle to graves, and that's including mother, children, veterans, any population, any person who needs help. Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries is able to help them today. Within the means that is available. The unfortunate part that we have been for many years hearing about ending homelessness, and this is what I really want to dive to immediately.
Right.
And then this is a big word that a lot of people are using it, and they've been defunding a lot of programs because people think that they are doing a lot of stride toward ending homelessness. And I can tell you from what we see in our shelters in the last 2 years, we are seeing more homeless, chronic homeless, come into our shelters that we've seen in the last 20 years. So now we have working homeless that is a growing population. People cannot afford anymore living in their own homes, paying the utilities. So they go work and they come and sleep at our shelters. And then we have teen mothers who are coming every day. And we have the veterans who, unfortunately, after they serve this country, they come back to a place where they don't have no work and they don't have no house to go to. And then we hear about all those solutions that is going to end homelessness. And we don't know where this is going to go. We at the Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries, we think that we will continue to help people as they come to us. And then we will try to find solutions. Housing alone is not just the solution to homelessness. There is also support services that has to be implemented. There's people, they don't know how to take care of a home. They don't know how to take care of their finances. They don't know how to take care of their kids to be a real parent. So before you just take them and put them in a home, we need to teach them those skills. And this is where Detroit Rescue Mission Ministries comes in at this point of time.
Right. I have seen in the past how you have put people in homes. I remember one of the most telling stories was 2 years ago. It was on Christmas. In fact, I attended that presentation ceremony itself. Of this the young woman with a kid who had a son who had asthma, and basically. And it was beautiful to watch them walk into that home, a brand new home at no cost. And they walked right in there, and there were a bunch of Christmas gifts that greeted them. And I remember, when we walked into the home, I remember one of the kids jumped right on one of the beds. It was like, because she had several kids, several boys, I think there were 2 or 3 boys. And one of them jumped right on the bunker bed, and was just, it was a relief watching them, and they were running up and down and so forth, right away they felt at home. And I know that's not the first time you've done that, but just talk about that experience itself and why, because I don't know if any organization in this area, in the region, that really, when people call for help, says, look, we'll put you in a brand new home. I don't know of any.
I don't know of any neither, but what I can tell you, I'm going to talk to you about what you've done recently. I mean, we were hearing the story when you brought it up on the radio to talk about the person who did not do any wrongdoing. He had paid for his home, and he had 4 children, and he's trying to make it, and all of a sudden they come to him and they tell him that, hey, you can't fix your home and you can't do anything. So first of all, we did not think twice to call, because the story coming from you, we know it's a credible story.
Right.
We know that the story is right and the person is deserving. So that's why we immediately stepped up and we said, we need to help this family. And then, as you mentioned earlier, we, as of today, working on the home to make sure that it is ready for him and his kids to be moving in, and they don't have to pay anything other than just moving and living in the house. And later, they will probably have to pay the utilities for sure, because that will become their responsibility. But they don't have to worry about payments for home or rent or anything like that. So we do this because we think that there is a lot of families out there who deserve to be in homes.
Right.
And they have the ability to be in homes.
Right.
And this is a great solution for them. We can't put them in the shelter. We can't put them in transitional housing.
Right.
They deserve to be in home. And then there is a lot of vacant homes in Detroit. And instead of boarding up those homes, we think it would be a great idea for organizations like ours to go in, fix those homes, and give them to families who are deserving, instead of keep pushing them out or giving them a temporary solution. We can give them a permanent solution, and for the kids to be calling the place a home versus a house that they're going to be moving from one place to another.
Right.
And the most important thing, it will also raise the value of the property around the vacant home.
Right.
And it will bring a better neighborhood. People will be feeling safer because you don't have that vacant eyesore home.
Right.
And in the same time, you'll bring